The missing millions. In September 2018, the town of Bayfield, Louisiana, was still recovering from the devastation of Hurricane Eliza. Roads were broken, bridges collapsed, and entire neighborhoods were left in ruins. Congress had approved billions in emergency infrastructure funding under the National Recovery and Reconstruction Initiative, a lifeline meant to rebuild what nature had destroyed. But as months passed, citizens began asking one haunting question: where did the money go? The red flag. When the first audit reports were released, local contractors claimed they hadn't received payments for completed work. Meanwhile, new construction firms, names no one recognized, were being paid in full for projects that didn't exist. The discrepancy caught the attention of Amelia Price, a forensic accountant working under the Office of Inspector General, OG. Tasked with reviewing disbursement ledgers from the Department of Infrastructure Development Price noticed something strange. Several vendor names appeared only once, linked to multi-million-dollar payments, and each had nearly identical registration details. Same business address, same incorporation date, and identical phone numbers. A closer look revealed that all 5 vendors were registered under different names of the same individual: Harold Decker, a mid-level procurement officer within the department. Following the paper trail, Amelia Price assembled a forensic team to reconstruct every transaction related to the Bayfield Recovery Fund. What they uncovered was a labyrinth of falsified invoices and double bill contracts. Invoices marked completed were attached to photographs of bridges and community centers, but when investigators visited the sites, the locations were empty lots. Each payment had been authorized through a digital signature traced back to Decker's department. But it wasn't just him. Approvals also carried the electronic sign-off of Deputy Director Sandra Lowell, a senior official overseeing infrastructure grants across 3 states. The deeper the team dug, the more disturbing the findings became. Over $240 million in federal aid had been disbursed to companies that existed only on paper. The discovery of the ghost ledger. Price's breakthrough came when she noticed subtle inconsistencies in invoice timestamps. Each falsified document had been generated at exactly 3:06 a.m., suggesting automation. A digital forensic sweep of the agency's shared drive revealed an encrypted folder labeled simply Q4 Archive. Inside were mirrored versions of the department's official ledgers, except these were doctored to match the fraudulent transactions. The altered files were maintained by a system administrator who had been reassigned months earlier, or so the record said, but phone records showed that Administrator Brian Kearns was still receiving payments through a government consulting contract signed by Lowell herself. Investigators called it the Ghost Ledger, a digital record designed to reconcile the lies. Collaboration with law enforcement. By early 2019, the case had grown too large for the OIG to handle alone. Amelia's team was joined by the FBI's Public Corruption Task Force and forensic data analysts from the Department of Justice. Together, they created a comprehensive forensic reconstruction, a virtual audit trail map showing how funds move from federal accounts into offshore banking networks, routed through Delaware LLCs and Caribbean shell corporations. When agents traced one of the payment routes, they discovered an offshore account registered under Lowell's maiden name. It contained $14.6 million. The tipping point. As subpoenas went out, whistleblowers began to emerge. One, a junior accountant named Devin Ellis, confessed he had been instructed to fix numbers under threat of termination. He admitted to altering ledger entries to make it appear as if bridges were completed on schedule in exchange for promotion. He provided internal emails from Lowell's office ordering concealment of non-compliant audit materials before federal inspectors arrived. But then, something chilling happened. 2 days before her scheduled testimony, Lowell's home caught fire under suspicious circumstances. The official cause was ruled accidental, but arson investigators found traces of accelerants. She survived, but many of her personal files were destroyed. That fire, ironically, ignited public outrage. The courtroom battle. The federal indictment named 7 officials and 5 private contractors. During trial, the prosecution presented Amelia Price's forensic reconstruction as evidence. The visuals were damning. A digital animation showing the disappearance of funds, account by account, until they reappeared offshore under aliases. Lowell's defense claimed she had no direct involvement, and that hackers could have manipulated the records. But metadata didn't lie. Each falsified document was signed from her government-issued laptop, and time-stamped during hours she was present in the office. When confronted with these facts, her lawyer attempted a plea negotiation, implicating Decker as the scheme's architect in exchange for reduced sentencing. But the forensic timeline revealed otherwise. Decker might have executed the fraud, but Lowell had authorized and protected it. Justice served. By 2021, sentences were handed down. Sandra Lowell, 28 years in federal prison for conspiracy, embezzlement, and obstruction. Harold Decker, 19 years for wire fraud and money laundering. Brian Kearns, 12 years for aiding digital falsification of federal records. Recovery efforts began immediately. Thanks to forensic tracing, nearly $121 million was recovered from offshore accounts. The rest, lost in layered shell transfers, became a painful reminder of the cost of corruption. Amelia Price was commended for exceptional service in government oversight. Her report, The Missing Millions, Anatomy of a Public Fraud, became mandatory reading for federal auditors nationwide. Months after the verdict, investigators discovered that one of the whistleblower contractors, Ellis, had quietly purchased property under a different name, funded by unreported transfers from Decker's account. The betrayal ran deeper than anyone had realized. The justice system reopened a smaller but related probe, proving once again that corruption doesn't end at the arrest. It mutates, survives, and hides where greed finds shelter. The moral and call to action of the story. Public funds are public true. SD, every falsified document, every silent approval, steals not just money, it steals hope, infrastructure, and dignity from communities that depend on them. Accountability isn't just a legal duty, it's a moral one.